Welcome to The Way Left. This episode is State by State, Civil War. Marjorie Taylor Greene, representative from Georgia. I'll quote her. We need to separate by red states and blue states and shrink the federal government. She says she has called for the U.S. to be separated by red and blue states and for shrinking the federal government in a tweet on President's Day, the latest in a string of controversial statements. We need a national divorce. We need to separate by red states and blue states and shrink the federal government. Everyone I talk to says this. From the sick and disgusting woke culture issues shoved down our throats to the Democrats' traitorous America's last policies, we are done. The U.S. fought a civil war in the 1860s after a group of southern states tried to secede to preserve the legal enslavement of black people. Conservatives, traditionalists, Christian evangelicals. So what is the point here? Why am I bringing this up? I am against a national divorce. It's ridiculous. It's appalling, and it's traitorous, treasonous, and insurrectionist. Now, should we listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene on a very often basis? We have to listen. We have to learn. She doesn't have a lot to say that's interesting. But I wanted to bring this up because there's this concept of blue and red states. And I know it exists. I live in Colorado, which would be considered a blue state, blue being Democratic, Democrat leaning to the left, red being Republican leaning to the right. I'm not sure Republican really exists in the conservative movement that had gone over this country over the last 100, 200 years. I would say it's MAGA, and that is not conservative. It is further right than that. It is authoritarian, as I spoke about on previous podcasts. But the point here is that we don't want to separate this country. It's the United States of America. But to her points, she's saying there's all these values that we don't have in common. Well, the values she has in common is an illiberal society, the evangelical Christian society. The Democrats are America's last. But what I want to do is I want to look at a state-by-state comparison. So she wants a separation. Okay, so what does that mean? So that means we take 24 blue states or so, and the other 26, adding up to 50, would be red, and we'd have separate countries, reduce government spend. So what we're going to look at here is a state-by-state comparison and see what's going on, okay? They want a separation from blue states. Okay, well, let's see what value you get out of that. I'm going to pull up a couple things here. Let's first go into state-by-state stats. So state-by-state stats. Now, Washington, D.C. is not a state. It will be on here. Washington, D.C. is it doesn't really have taxation with representation, and that's always been an argument. We have net receivers and we have net donors. Net receiver would be the federal government pays more in to that state than that state pays back through taxes, for example, so federal taxes, other types of taxes that get paid to the government. So they have net receiver would be kind of a negative. It means you're getting more from the federal government than you're getting, and a net donor would be we're creating more than we're getting back. So let's look at some of these states. Let's talk about some of these states. So what we have here is Washington, D.C., which isn't even a state, is a net receiver. They are getting more than they're paying in. This is D.C., the capital of our country. But again, it's not a state, it's a district. That's a whole different topic. Alaska, red state, is a net receiver. New Mexico, blue state, net receiver. So this isn't across the board. I'm not going to sit here and say that all states are red, they're bad, and all states are blue. I believe all states are great. It's just, what are people like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Chuck Schumer on the left or Nancy Pelosi on the left or Mitch McConnell on the right, what are they doing for their states? Why is it that Trump looks at California and says they're bad and says that Tennessee is fine? Well, it's because it's the red or blue divide. Delaware, blue state, net donor. Minnesota, blue state, net donor. New York, blue state, net donor. California, largest contributor, net donor. New Jersey, blue state, net donor. Virginia, kind of blue and red's a net receiver. West Virginia, which is not doing well, net receiver. Kentucky, net receiver. Alabama, net receiver. Mississippi, net receiver. Louisiana, net receiver. Red states, red states, red states. So they're getting more money. So what Marjorie Taylor Greene wants to do is separate. Now, they're going to separate and reduce the federal government. So what's going to happen to those red states and to some blue states if we do this? It's going to decimate them. Total revenue collected from states and their residents, $4.6 trillion. Total disbursements back to states and residents, $4.56 trillion. Kind of a net, which isn't bad, but we don't balance anything else. We're kind of balancing that. Overall, what we're looking at is the Rust Belt and the South are net receivers of monies from the federal government. My taxes from a net donor in Colorado, California, which is a net donor, goes to those states. How about we only get back what we pay in? How would that go? For a lot of poor states, it would go back. Top states by median household income. Maryland, number 1. That's the D.C., Maryland area, District of Columbia. New Hampshire, number 2. Massachusetts. New Hampshire leans blue, could be red. District of Columbia, Maryland, generally blue. Massachusetts, blue. New Jersey, blue. And mostly net donors other than D.C. Lowest states by median household income. Mississippi, the lowest, red, net receiver. Arkansas, red, net receiver. New Mexico, blue, net receiver. Louisiana, red, net receiver. West Virginia, red, net receiver. So MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, is going to make these states worse off because she's going to reduce the Fed and she's not going to take the excess money from the blue states. So now let's talk about health performance by state. Top states for health system performance. Massachusetts, blue. Hawaii, blue. New Hampshire, let's call it equal. Rhode Island, blue. District of Columbia, blue. Lowest performing states in health system. Mississippi, red. Texas, red. Oklahoma, red. Arkansas, red. West Virginia, red. So I'm not putting the blame on the people. I'm putting the blame on the people that are running those states that are up there in the Fed talking about starting a civil fucking war. Maybe not a civil war, a separation, and their states aren't succeeding. What are they doing about that? And there's plenty of blame to go around. But when you bring up stuff like separation, civil war, bullshit. Let's see some stats. Education, some recent state rankings. Top states include Massachusetts, blue. Connecticut, blue. New Jersey, blue. Virginia, blue. New Hampshire, let's call it in the middle. Worst states for public education. New Mexico, blue. Alaska, red. Louisiana, red. Arizona, red. West Virginia, red. So what the fuck? How do they get reelected? Top 10 best overall in education, health, and income. Massachusetts, number 1, blue. New Hampshire, let's call them in the middle. Blue. Rhode Island, blue. Hawaii, blue. Connecticut, blue. New Jersey, blue. Minnesota, blue. Vermont, blue. Maryland, blue. D.C., blue. Worst. Louisiana, red. Oklahoma, red. Texas, red. Arizona, red. New Mexico, blue. West Virginia, red. Mississippi, red. Alabama, red. Arkansas, red. Idaho, Alaska, D.C., tied. D.C., blue. Not a state, a district. Maybe if it was a state and had state rights, we could remediate some of that. Idaho and Alaska, red. Again, I hate to bash, but what I'm doing is I'm bashing the people that are running these states. And I'm not saying that my state's perfect. I got lots to go over with Jared Polis in terms of his public education funding and his almost too pro-business. Different conversation. We're bringing up MTG. We're bringing up these people that are talking about how we really need to go MAGA because MAGA is the right way. Well, let's look at it at the state level. Let's look at it, okay? Now, stats aren't the end-all, be-all. We need to have conversation. There are other reasons. There are federal and state reasons. There's demographic reasons. There's geographic reasons, right? If you're a landlocked state, you probably have a little less potential than a state that's on the water. Okay, top 10 states, the highest murder rate. Now, Trump is currently nationalizing and militarizing the National Guard to go into blue cities like LA, like Portland, like Chicago, and using his ICE with masks on. Take off your fucking mask. Due process and habeas corpus. Give me a break. This is America. This isn't fucking Hungary or Russia. Or is it? Top 10 states with highest murder rates. Mississippi. Now, he hasn't sent any troops to Mississippi, National Guard troops to Mississippi, because it's a red state. It's a great red state that's poor, uneducated, doesn't have good health care, relies on Medicaid. Let's speak about what they're doing with Medicaid and Medicare. Rural hospitals are shutting down right and left. How do you think that's going to affect a place like Mississippi, who is a net receiver of money from Fed, but Marjorie Taylor Greene wants to take away Fed money? Number 2, Louisiana, red. Now, the argument would be here is they're the blue city. So Louisiana, New Orleans is a blue city, but it's in a red state. Maybe if they managed the state better, maybe if they gave better health care, education, more access to food and water, But no, they're going to sit up there in Congress and talk about how bad the left is. Number 3 seems to be a theme. Alabama, red. Missouri, red. And you could say they're blue cities, St. Louis and Kansas City, and then they'll turn it into a racial thing. But again, most of these states with murder problems or with high crime rates also have a problem with food. They have a problem with health care. They have a problem with education. They're net receivers. Arkansas, number 5, state with the lowest murder rates. Now, New Hampshire and Vermont are tiny states, not a good example. Let's say blue or in the middle. Maine, smaller state. Idaho, red. Massachusetts, very populated state. It's blue or murder rate. So murder rates it's by state in 2023 in order. DC, which is not a state, so he sent the federal troops in there. So the idea that we need to control immigration and that we need to help with homelessness and the disparity and inequality and to reduce crime, we're all on board. It's how we go about it. Do we get rid of due process, which means your legal rights? Do we incarcerate American citizens on accident? Do we chase them with masks? Do we say what Brian Kilmeade said and just do euthanasia to homeless people? Or do we go about this in a humane but legal way? Are you going to have problems? Yes. Are you going to have humanity if you do it right? Yes. Empathy is real, but the right doesn't want you to believe that empathy is right for those that are taking advantage of the system. Well, what I'll tell you is if you're a net receiver and you're a red state, even if you're a blue state, and we're not empathetic like Marjorie Taylor Greene, then you're really fucked. Murder rate by state, 2023. DC 1, again, not a state. Louisiana, number 2, red. New Mexico, blue, struggling. So is Louisiana. All great states. I've been to all of them. Alabama, haven't been there. Number 4. Tennessee, number 5. Now, 4th state, because DC's not a state. Red. Arkansas, red. Missouri, red. South Carolina, red. Alaska, red. Maryland, blue. North Carolina, probably even. Georgia, here's Marjorie Taylor Greene's state. Georgia, the great red state of Georgia, which there are a lot of great people and great things in Georgia. High on the list. Mississippi, red. Nevada, red. Pennsylvania, purple, goes blue and red. Let's just call it blue. Illinois, blue. Oklahoma, they're doing really well down in Oklahoma. Their education sucks. Their health care sucks. Their murder rate sucks. Their quality of life. They're a net receiver, but it's one of the money makers for oil and gas. How's that going? How's that trickle-down economics working? Are they just pissing all over you? Kentucky, red. Texas, red. Virginia, blue. Arizona, red. So we can keep going. California's way down this list. Where's Oregon? Oregon's way down this list. But we sent people we sent militarized National Guard troops into LA, into Oregon, Portland. We sent them to Illinois. Well, Illinois is not even top 10. Sent them into Chicago, but we haven't sent anybody to Louisiana, New Mexico, Alabama, Tennessee, Arkansas, Missouri, South Carolina, Alaska, Georgia, Mississippi, Nevada, Oklahoma. So we want to divide this country up. Be careful what you ask for and think about what you're saying. The idea here is we're the United States of America. I come from the left. This is the way left. I believe in democratic socialism, progressivism, liberalism, and I believe in capitalism, and I believe in immigration reform. But to sit here and say we got to divide it up because all these woke philosophies and policies have destroyed the country, you can't fucking manage your state. How you think you're going to help the United States? Your state's suffering. Mike Johnson, the leader of the House, his state's in fucking shambles. They got good football. They got good food. They don't got health care. They don't got education. And they have a high murder rate. What you doing down there, Mike? Seems like you got a lot of orange on you. So sometimes I have music quotes and sometimes I have questions. The question is, first of all, comments like Marjorie Taylor Greene's, do they do any good? No, I would answer that question. Comments like, hey, how do we assess state by state how we're doing? What do we take the goods from the red and the goods from the blue and make it better instead of dividing us? And the point is that there's a lot of people on the right, especially, but even on the left, that are pointing out that we need to just get away from them. Fuck that. We don't want to get away. We want to get closer. We want a society. We want the next great New Deal, not the next great civil fucking war. And financially speaking, that would devastate a lot of states. It would devastate the union in general. But if you just do it economically, the red's going to lose heavy on that. And that's not good for anybody. So think about it. Think about when people say stuff like that. I think, oh, we got to get away from those conservatives, or we got to get away from those liberals. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is important for a society to succeed and prosper. You have to manage it, but you can't just divide it. So I thank you